Welcome to the Cash Confident Podcast. I'm BRIE, your fearless host, personal finance expert, and the visionary behind the revolutionary Cash Confident community. Get ready to embark on an electrifying journey where we redefine the rules of money and empower women to harness the immense power to craft the life they truly, truly desire. This podcast is the ultimate resource, meticulously crafted for women who are ready to unleash their financial prowess and embrace a life of abundant success. We leave no stone unturned as we delve into the depths of money management, mindset mastery, and the undeniable influence of emotions on your financial decisions. Prepare to rise above the societal limitations and break free from the chains that have held you back as we equip you with the tools and knowledge to make bold, confident choices with your cash. We believe that true financial power begins with knowledge, and that is exactly what we deliver. So buckle up, my fierce and ambitious friends, as we embark on this transformative journey to becoming cash confident together. Hello, everybody. Listening to the Cash Confident Podcast. I'm BRIE, and today we are going to talk about scarcity as a cycle. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because scarcity is not just a mindset. Like, scarcity gets a really bad rap as like this undesirable mindset that you should certainly rid yourself of. And one, I don't actually find any evidence of being able to get rid of scarcity for yourself. And I'll talk more about that as the episode goes on. So it's this thing that we all face, we all come in contact with. And when we cannot identify a scarcity cycle, we create it and recreate it and recreate it and recreate it. And it is a situation, it is a place that feels like poverty, no matter how much money you have. And it feels so tight and constricted, in our bodies. And it feels honestly like frightening, like it feels scary, like it's a terrible place to exist for long periods of time. And so in this episode today, what I want to teach you is what this looks like as a cycle and some places that you can maneuver yourself out of it so that way you could be in the current circumstances of scarcity without recreating it. And this is important stuff. Because this is work that I teach my clients. This is work that we do all of the time inside of the Cash Confident community and inside of my mastermind, Limitless Wealth. And this work is critical to lasting financial success because, like I said, you will encounter scarcity because it's just the way that we're designed. All right, so let's just start at the beginning. So what I want to say is, first of all, your brain has a job that every single day it has to keep your body alive. Like, that's its main purpose. That's the number one priority, the number one function of your brain is to keep your body alive. So scarcity, your brain is always looking for danger, right? Like, we have this part of our brain, it's called our amygdala, and it gets information first. It's the first place information goes, and it is like scanning for bears, lions, starvation threats, anything that is dangerous to your body, right? Like, it's why you see like a ledge, you feel some kind of way about it because your brain is like, dude, there's a ledge over there and that is potential death. There's a bear in your backyard, you should move your body back inside the house. Like, let's get away from that bear. And scarcity is not the same kind of danger that like an actual threat would be, but it does register to your body as the threat of starvation. So we're working with the same brain hardware that we've been working with for thousands, tens of thousands of years. And so scarcity inside your brain, you may be thinking like, oh, my car payment's going to be late. I don't know if I have enough money to pay this and get groceries this week. This credit card debt is weighing me down, right? Like, you may be thinking things that are really not an actual threat to your literal survival, but your body receives that signal as, we are gonna die, we're gonna starve, we have to go to the woods, we're gonna be all alone, there's not gonna be Wi-Fi. And scarcity, that physical response all of that energy, that tight, constricted feeling, that narrowing of focus is your brain being like, dude, get your shit together. Get your bow, get your arrow. We are going on a hunt to get the dinner because you're sending me signals that we may starve. And so that physiological response where your focus narrows, your body will have a lot of energy in it. It will feel, for most people, it does feel like a fight or flight response. It feels like that panicky feeling, and that may be an intense moment of scarcity. Right. And scarcity isn't always super intense. There's low grade scarcity or like medium grade scarcity. So I'll share what this kind of feels like for me, and I'll maybe some stories about what it looks like for some of my clients. So that way, maybe you will be better able to identify what scarcity looks like, feels like, sounds like for you. So for me, mid-grade scarcity means that my mind will not show up. It will run me through scenario after scenario of financial tragedy. It'll be like, you're going to have to fire all your employees. You're going to have to take all the money out of your 401k. And like, that's the kind of thoughts going on inside of my mind when I'm really like in mid-grade scarcity. It's just this mental taxation of trying to problem solve all day. And to me, I find it incredibly exhausting because my mind is usually a pretty peaceful place. Low-grade scarcity to me is like annoyance. Like I find myself more snapping with my kids, more annoyed with my spouse for literally no reason, like annoyed by things that are not annoying, feeling like annoyed when I have to let go of money, like when I have to fill my gas tank, which is, normally like, it's not like the most delicious of purchases, but I'm normally not like resenting my gasoline. But when I'm in a low grade scarcity, I'll be like, oh, this gasoline is $84, like things like that. So, all right. So that's some of the ways that, and then once we are in that state of scarcity, and our brain is narrowed in focus, and then our prefrontal, so what really is happening is your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that like thinks, the part of your brain that can read a spreadsheet, that can make good decisions, that part really comes offline, and you're much more in your subconscious, you're much more in your subconscious, and your body's got a lot of energy. And so this is the place that people tend to make really, we would call it interesting choices from, right? And take interesting sets of actions. So some of the ways that I will see scarcity show up for my clients is things like opening up a lot of accounts and setting a lot of complicated financial rules. So sometimes I'll have clients who will have many different bank accounts, many different credit cards, and a very complicated, and I will call it convoluted, financial system where going forward, there is no chance of clarity. And the reason that somebody would do that is because it feels like you're taking action. It feels like you're doing something. In reality, you're really not. Like your situation is not very much different. It's just more complicated. But in a moment of scarcity, when all of that energy is in your body and you're like, I have to do something so I don't feel like this, sometimes your body, like you will settle for things that don't exactly make sense. I've seen clients really get rid of money in scarcity to stock up for things with the underlying assumption, like the unspoken assumption that this is the situation now and that things are never going to change. So I better stock up for winter by going to Costco and buying, 44 pounds of walnuts and canned tomatoes to last me until the apocalypse happens, which we hope will get here soon since we're broke, right? Like, there's that kind of situation. And sometimes I will see clients overgive, like get rid of their money in really odd generosity, like generosity that's just odd. It's because it's not real true generosity. It's I haven't fully understand the connection, but it's almost like I'm going to do all these nice things for people while I have this little bit of money and I'm in scarcity. So that way when I'm broke, they will take care of me. Like that's kind of like the underlying vibe, right? Sometimes I will see things like hoarding the money, like not paying the bills and then having to pay late fees, not paying the bills on time, right? And just holding on to the cash because you're afraid to let it go. And so scarcity drives those kind of choices, all right? Scarcity will create those thought patterns that say, you're not okay, you're not safe, do something big, do something fast, right? So then we will call it a mindset, but I will talk about scarcity as a mindset separately and in a minute, because this isn't like so much of is a mindset as just your brain body connection. All right, so you will get into the place of that thought pattern, that mindset, right? Your body will freak out, think it's going to starve to death. You will, and that will drive an emotional state. Generally going to be something like, I don't know. For me, I get irritated. Some people will get desperate. And you will know those states. And you're like, if you really think about what it feels like when money's not coming, when you don't have money, when there's not enough, or even if you think about it in terms of time, you'll know the emotional states that come up for you. Like they're tied together. And then we take actions which create the more scarcity. So like, let's say I'm like, oh, my pipeline in my business is drying up, and I don't have enough clients coming in, and I'm not going to have enough money. And then I freak out a little bit. And then I'm like, all right, well, I should take the money that I do have to Costco, spend all of it to prepare myself for the lean times. And then I get rid of all of my money. And then my situation of scarcity becomes true because now I've gotten rid of my money. But in addition to that, I've taken my focus off of my business. I've taken my focus off of making more. I've taken my focus off of client acquisition to go to Costco to buy 8 years worth of canned tomatoes. So that way I don't starve to death during the lean times. Like I created the lean times and preparing for the lean times because that's where I directed my energy. That's where I directed my focus. That's where I directed my attention. Right. And the same thing happens with all of those circumstances that I just kind of ran you through. So like, let's just say I have the situation and I'm like, oh, I better hang out, my pipeline is dry. Right. And I have this mindset, my body freaks out and I'm like, I better hang on to my cash. I better not pay all my bills right away because I'm going to need this cash for something. Right. Like I don't have money coming in. So I need to make sure that like I will literally survive, and then I'm fretting with all the bills and maneuvering things and paying late fees. And then, I pay all these late fees on things to keep my cash a little bit longer. And then I perpetuate that scarcity, right? So it's the cost of the late fees that I didn't really get anything for. And, and the stress and the worry and, because all of that stress and worry, that's an energetic cost. You're paying for that. Like that is an exhausted place to be, right? And if you've ever been in that situation, you know that. So those are some of the ways that scarcity kind of runs as a cycle. Now, I want to talk separately about scarcity as a mindset. It contributes to the cycle quite a bit. And all right, so first of all, scarcity as a mindset, your brain is going to naturally lean more toward seeing scarcity because, like I said, it just needs to keep you alive every day. And the threat of starvation is very real to you. Like in today's day and age, not so much, but like your body, your brain don't see it that way. They're like, we need to make sure that there is enough food to keep the body alive, right? And so you're always going to see the scarcity. Like you're always going to see more scarcity than abundance because your brain is just trying to keep you alive. And so I think that's a place to give yourself grace, because I will tell you, so many people that I talk to call me and they're like, Brie, help me get rid of this scarcity mindset. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's probably not the way that's going to go. But second, that is part of being a human. It's part of what keeps you alive. It's your hardware. Like it's the way that your brain works. So like, let's just not make it mean anything wrong about us, first of all, right? Like when people talk about scarcity mindset, like it's always with the implication that like something is wrong with me. And I'm like, okay, so I've talked to like 1,000 people about this and like nothing's wrong with you. So I just want to say that because I think that's a place where, in addition to having the scarcity, when we have scarcity and then self-torture, it's just an unnecessary like amount of suffering. Like it's just unnecessary. So scarcity as a mindset is generally you're going to notice that in your words. And so scarcity is going to, you can have scarcity in any resources. I think the three biggest ones are time, money, and energy. Those are your three primary resources to create your life with. But you could have scarcity of canned beans or scarcity of lipstick or scarcity of, like, I don't know, your phone being charged, right? Your phone's battery. Like all of those things can trigger a little bit of like a scarcity. So scarcity as a mindset needs to be rewired over time. That is a process where you want to intentionally every day turn your focus towards the abundance that you have in your life, towards the things that you already have that are wonderful and beautiful, toward the things that you appreciate and you're growing and you want more of. And the more that you pay attention, the more that you send your thoughts down those kinds of neural pathways, the kind of neural pathways that land in gratitude and appreciation and abundance, that means those exact same thoughts are not rolling down the neural pathways that end up in an icy cold puddle of scarcity. And so in time, you can think those thoughts so regularly that they do become thought habits, right? Like that they become habits of thought. They become, part of your mood in a day, part of your attitude over time. And it does take time to develop. I want to say that too. Like, if you put in a gratitude, appreciation, abundance practice for yourself, these things, they're not instantaneous. You're not going to write down your gratitudes today and then be rewired. They take, it takes like 3-4 months. And for some people it takes longer. It just depends on where you are in your life and how many scarcity thoughts you're thinking and how really deep into like a survival mode state you are, right? And like some people's brains work faster, slower than others to do the rewiring. And so everybody's a little bit different, but those kind of practices help to, what you focus on grows. What you focus on grows. What you focus on grows. And I said that 3 times because that is an incredibly important principle for you to understand. So if you focus on the money that you do have and you keep your attention on the money that you do have and you keep your attention on the income that you do have and you appreciate it and you do the things to make it grow and you keep your focus on the abundance you already have in your life, all of those things will grow. But if you keep your focus on your credit card debt and you keep your focus on the tightness of your time or the tightness of your cash flow or your exhaustion or, all of the ways that scarcity shows up, those things will also grow. Like I will tell you, I've talked to many, many people over the last decade, and it's generally the focus on the credit card debt that makes it grow. And the way that it kind of shows up, the way that scarcity grows, the way that anti-money, that not havingness grows, is people are like, oh, I'm paying all this money on my debt and I'm not getting anything for the interest. Let me transfer it to a 0% balance transfer, while leaving the underlying habits, while leaving the underlying scarcity, and while leaving the actions that cause the debt fully in place. And then it takes about 2 years and they double the size of their credit card debt. And then if that cycle continues, then they'll take out a personal loan, to consolidate the debts because now they've played the 0% game a couple times and their situation's complicated and and they can't get any more 0% balance transfers. So they take out a personal loan. And, if that habit goes on, it may be a 401k loan or it may be a home equity loan or it may be a family loan, and they'll keep borrowing to try to pay off the debt. And it doesn't work because they left the scarcity, they left the habits, and they left the problematic actions in place. But it's really, really about the focus that they're putting on that debt, that anti-money, that like scarcity, right? And so I'm going to give you a few tips to break out of a scarcity cycle. All right. So one of the first things that you could do if you're in an acute sense of scarcity, like if you're really having, panicking levels of scarcity, what I would suggest is raising your heart rate 90 seconds, just enough to tell your body that you did the fight or flight, right? Just enough. So you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go for exercise. But if you could raise your heart rate up, like I said, like 1 to 2 minutes, that helps to close that stress loop in your body, and it helps to get your prefrontal cortex back online. All right. For longer term, for like shifting out of a scarcity mindset, I have 3 different practices that will help you to rewire your thought patterns over time. And again, these are practices that you would want to do every day. And I would say, 90 days, 100 days, because the more that you do that, the more that those neural pathways get used and the more that you start to have more control over your brain, right? And so these practices do not need to take long. These are micro practices. You don't necessarily need to set time aside, um, although you could. All right, so a gratitude practice. Gratitude is the vibrational like signature of having, right? So generally you have something and you are grateful for it. So the more gratitude that you have, the more you can hold, the more you can have, the more good shit that your body, you're like, you can be ready to like have, right? So gratitude helps you to increase your level of having. Bonus points if you can get grateful for something you don't yet have but you want to have, and you can just be grateful for it like you already have it. That is like some real powerful manifestation juju right there. Like that really calls these things in, right? Okay, so that a gratitude practice. And what I like to do with gratitude is sometimes I like to send little gratitude text messages to people I love. You can keep them in a journal. You can speak them out loud when you're driving in your car. You can spend a couple minutes thinking grateful thoughts, while you're cooking or peeing or, doing anything. Like it doesn't matter. Like you don't need to speak them out loud and you don't need to write them out down for them to work. You do need to think the thoughts, and you probably want to shoot for like a good 2 or 3 minutes of thinking grateful thoughts on purpose. And that should be enough to literally change your state. After 2 minutes of thinking grateful thoughts, one after the other on purpose, you should feel different. You should probably feel a little bit safer in your body, I feel like warm and fuzzy, I call it. It's like, ooh, that feels good. It's like a warm and fuzzy kind of feeling. All right. So that is the way to do a gratitude practice. I especially like, I'm going to say this too. I especially like doing the text messages of gratitudes because then it bounces back. So it's like I get to do my gratitude, send that gratitude to somebody else. They receive that gratitude, and most of the time it bounces back to me. Usually they'll send me like a little love note back. And so it's just a way to kind of like double the effort, right? So you get more result from the effort and you get to brighten somebody else's day. So I like that, but you get to do it however you want to do it. All right. So the next practice I want to teach you about is an appreciation practice. Now, appreciation is the vibe of growing, right? We talk about capital appreciation, about our investments appreciating, right? That means getting bigger. It means growing. And so appreciation is a thing that you want to put onto things that you want more of in your life. And it could be money, or it could really be anything else that you would consider to be abundant. So things like, when your kids put the dishwasher away and you didn't have to ask them to, you could just take a second to be like, oh, I really appreciate that you took that initiative. Oh, you're the best. Like that, I felt so appreciative that I didn't have to ask you to do that. And so then you're putting your appreciation onto that one thing. They're going to receive that appreciation. And chances are, I don't know. I don't know if that works for like the grocery thing with your kids exactly, but it does. It does in time. Sometimes you got to appreciate things a few extra times. So when you look at your money and you want it to be growing, you want to appreciate. You want to notice. Oh, I got my little bit of interest payments. My money is working for me. I appreciate that my money works for me. And you put that appreciation on that situation that you want more of. And that helps to keep your focus. It helps to wire your brain toward this is the things that we want. I appreciate this. And your brain's like, okay, we could get more of that. And your brain will start working on ways to get you more of that. And when you give appreciation to other people, you will also see those behaviors, those things that they do. You'll start to see more of them when you appreciate them, right? So a great place to do an appreciation practice is if you have a love, like if you have a romantic partner, that's a great place to do appreciation. Like, oh, I appreciate how thoughtful you are, or I appreciate, the way that you do the dishes or whatever else. I do want to say that a self-appreciation practice is also incredibly powerful for, honestly, for increasing your income capacity. So that could be something like, oh, I appreciate the way that I always show up for my clients. I appreciate, my skills. I appreciate my talents. And you want to get kind of nitty gritty. And this is generally a harder practice to get into for most people because we're very socially and culturally conditioned to not brag, to not boast, and to not even really see our strengths and talents, which is probably a topic, we could probably do a whole episode on that. But doing a self gratitude practice and a self appreciation practice and putting some of your gratitude inside of your own body, inside of your own self, right? Or your energy field, like your thought, like having those thoughts just stay within you is also incredibly powerful and really beautiful practice, right? So appreciation is a place that um, you would use that like frequency, that vibration, right? Like those words to make things grow. All right. All right. Then abundance. Now, when you look around the world, there is so much abundance that if you were to spend an entire day doing this practice, like you couldn't even handle it. Like your brain wouldn't even like allow you to really, really handle it. There, like, and the more that you notice abundance in your life, it makes, I don't know, for me it makes me kind of feel like a little safe, a little bit more secure, a little bit more um safe within my body, secure within my body. And it helps me to recognize that this abundance that I that is so everywhere is just unlimited. But this, again, this it takes practice to get to that place. Um, so the way that I started an abundance practice was like I would just be in my bathroom, just getting myself together, and be like, "Wow, I have so much shampoo. I couldn't even use all of this shampoo today. I have an abundance of shampoo." Same thing for my toothpaste and my Q-tips and all of the things, right? Like, and you want to keep your time frame small. You want to keep your time frame today because you could get you can make your shampoo into scarcity by looking at your shampoo like, well, I don't have 3 months worth of shampoo. But like it's like, okay, well, you can notice the abundance that it is today. You could do the same thing in your kitchen, looking inside of your refrigerator, looking inside of your cabinets. You could do the same thing outside, noticing the beauty that life has to offer you. You can look at the sky and see the abundance of space, right? And the more that you focus, focus and speak that abundance to yourself, and you don't, like I said, you don't necessarily need to speak that out loud, but that tunes you to that frequency of abundance. And all of these words, like that I'm saying, that like vibration, frequency, tuning, right? They're all a little woo. They sound like this is like how we manifest things. But it's really about you using your own brain on purpose and you starting to create the experience that you want by focusing your attention, because we have this other part of our brain called our reticular activating system, and that is the filter for all of the information that we get. And so the more we send these thoughts, the more that we program that reticular activating system to notice the opportunities to have, to grow, to be in abundance. Um, so those are some practices that you can do that will change like a scarcity mindset, where the other thing that I just said around like raising your heart rate is to help you move that scarcity out of your body, like out of your nervous system. Now the last thing that I want to teach you today is, so when we were talking about that cycle of scarcity, where it's a circumstance, a mindset, a physical response, an emotional response, an action, which then starts the loop over, right? Then it recreates that set of circumstances. This is super hard. I'm going to tell you how to do it, and it sounds easy. It sounds easy to do, but it is hard to do. All right. So sometimes the way to break the cycle is to not take the action. So once you're like a situation happens and your mind gets triggered that you're in scarcity and your body receives that and you're in that emotional state, like that's really not exactly the time that you're going to be super receptive to changing your emotional state. It is a time that you could raise your heart rate and get your brain back online, But really the thing that you need to do is learn how to sit with yourself in the discomfort of what you're feeling and not take action. Not go to the store, not open your bank accounts, not call your banker, not do the things until, give it it could be a couple hours, or a day or a nap or something else. You want to create a little space so that way, you're not making decisions from that place of that super constricted brain flow, and your body like in an icy cold puddle of scarcity, like your butthole puckered. Like none of that creates great decision making. So learning how to just care for yourself in a moment of scarcity, just being like, wow, I really am feeling afraid. I'm really feeling a lot of urges to take a lot of actions. All right, self, what do you need? Do you need a snack? Do you need a nap? Do you need to go for a walk? You need to go with your vibrator? What do you need? And kind of just being there for yourself gently and letting yourself come out of that panicky mode, that fight or flight mode before you start taking actions. That's how you will stop that scarcity cycle. And like I said, it is easy to say. It's not incredibly difficult once you've done it a few times, but you do need to learn how to just be with your feelings. But that's where then you can, once you're back online and you're making good choices, you're not gonna go and spend your last pennies on cheese making supplies, which I actually did once. I actually did that. This was before I opened Cash Confident. I was selling stocks and bonds, and when I was in training, I took a tremendous pay cut to get this new job. And while I was in training, I was making like minimum wage, and it was, not enough, right? And so I was in total scarcity, and I was waiting for a credit card, like an old credit card that I'd sent for like the new card, right? I'd like lost the physical card. And while I was waiting, I spent the last of the money in my bank account on cheese making supplies. I laugh about it now because it's hilarious, but in the moment I was like, I'm so poor that I must make my own cheese. But like making your own cheese costs more. It costs more than just buying cheese. None of it made any sense. But anyways, it was a very silly story that I did in a moment of scarcity. I was like, I need to make my own cheese. Let me buy all these cheese making supplies. Yes. All right. And in a future episode, I'm going to talk about something else with scarcity. That's a little bit juicier topic, but it does require much more time. We are already at 31 minutes for today. So we will just wrap up. So I hope that you learned something about this. I hope that you are able to now understand scarcity a little bit better, give yourself some grace, know that there's nothing wrong with you for experiencing scarcity, and just be able to manage yourself through scarcity. And as you do that, make sure you give yourself like a pat on the back and know that you're making power moves. You're really having that powerful relationship with money. You're becoming cash confident. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please, my podcast is super brand new. So if you enjoyed it, even if you didn't, I would love your feedback. Like I would love for you to leave a review, let me know your thoughts, and share this episode with a friend. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being with me. Bye. It was my pleasure and joy to talk with you today. Thank you for listening. If you found value in our conversation, I kindly ask you to share the show with a friend who deserves to unleash her financial power. Your feedback is so valuable to me. So please take a moment to leave a review. Together we can amplify the message and bring more money into the hands of good women. For ongoing guidance and unwavering support on your financial journey, I invite you to join the Cash Confident community. Visit www.cashconfident.com/join to become part of our powerful community of women where we uplift and inspire one another to reach new heights of financial success. Remember, you possess the power to shape your financial destiny. And with the Cash Confident podcast and the support of our remarkable community, you are unstoppable. Embrace your financial power, create the life you desire, and let's ignite a movement of cash confident women who are transforming the world $1
one decision at a time.